Rachel Corbin. I grew up in Killingworth, Connecticut, and I'm now in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's hard to define. I think it's kind of boundless, to be honest with you, because I think there's so many different kinds. Like, I love my friends, I love my husband, I love my kids, I love my dog, you know what I mean? I might love the day I'm having, or, you know, I love my parents, my sister. I mean, it's just so different. Every relationship has a different form, and sometimes like things or experiences. The maternal love. I think there's just something about that bond between mother and child, and we had some difficult circumstances with the births of the kids and all that, and I don't know if that makes it more or less. I mean, I don't know what other people feel, but yeah, I think that's actually what I think keeps me here right now, is it's them. I know it is, it's not even a question. I think it's still evolving. You know, there's times like I thought maybe I loved somebody, and then later I'm like, oh, I don't think I really did. Or I realized, you know, I did love that person, but I didn't realize it at the time. So I think even still, even looking back, or, you know, I think it's an evolving thing, and I think it changes. Like, the love I have with Dee is different than the love from when we were dating, when we first met. I mean, it's changed a lot over time. I actually met his friend at a club, and we, you know, were talking on the phone, and we decided, you know, let's meet up, a group of my friends and a group of your friends. And so we went, and apparently Dee was told, and all the others were told, you know, she's mine, don't get her, you know, I'm interested in her, don't go anywhere near her. So when we met, but it was like that instant attraction kind of thing, and I couldn't figure out why he wouldn't talk to me, you know what I mean? So like the whole night, like he was actually talking, it was bad, talking to my roommate more, and then like at the end of the night, the other one tried to kiss me. I was like, no, no, no. I don't know what we were thinking. We invited them over, and he was like, I can't believe you invited strange guys to your house. But we did. I don't know what we were thinking, because we were a group. I don't know, we just weren't. But anyhow, in that evening and talking and watching the movie, then I finally got my intentions clear. So I always joke, I say I had to pursue you. Something inside me told me, you can't let this person go, you can't not see them again. And I didn't know why. I told you earlier about getting pregnant on the honeymoon, and for that, it was funny. I knew I was pregnant, and then it was just, yes. I mean, that was my baby. Like, I couldn't imagine anything different. And with Alden, it was even more so, because we had trouble. It was funny, because it was just me and Avery. He was 2, home. I took the test, and I just started shaking and crying, and he came around the corner, and I'm like, he's like looking at me, and I'm like, you're gonna be a big brother. And I'm like sobbing, and it was really hard. Like, at 16 weeks, I started having heart failure symptoms. By 19 weeks, I was in the cath lab on bed rest, and they were talking about doing open heart surgery. Like, I was really sick, and they were, you know, they didn't know what was gonna happen. That's when we learned I do respond to medications, which was a good thing. It's a good thing still now. And so we were able to manage it that way. They put me on oxygen and all that. But I filled out all the paperwork to keep my body alive long enough for him to be born. Because, you know what I mean, all those kind of things. So if we didn't know, Dee and I talked about it. I was like, look, you need to have him. You know what I mean? Even if you don't have me, because I said, this is part of us. But then at 28 weeks, they admitted me. So they were like, okay, well, you'll be here. The plan is 32 weeks. That's why I said, get comfortable, light some candles, and, you know, kind of make this as homely as you can. You can be here a while. And then the next day they came in, and they're like, you can't make it a month. They're like, we give you 3 days. And my maternal fetal medicine specialist, I said, at this point, 3 days doesn't matter. So we're delivering him in the morning if you can make it through the night. So then that night, I was up all night sobbing because he was going to be born so early, and what that entailed. He was so sick, and they thought he was going to die. I saw him as they wheeled him past me in the OR, and that was it. And I had a great nurse at one point that took pictures and sent them up. I mean, they warned me ahead of time, you know, he's been intubated, you know, but it's funny because speaking of love, like I look at those pictures now, and I can see them for what they are. At the time, all I saw was my baby. I didn't see any of the tubes, I didn't see any of the wires, any of that stuff. And people would come and they'd visit me, and I'd be like, here's a picture of him. And they'd all like react funny. And I was like, I wonder why they all react funny. I begged to leave the ICU because I hadn't seen him. They put me into a regular room. I got very sick on the way there, but we kind of made it through. And then I called down, and the nurse told me, well, I was like, how's he doing? She goes, well, there's a time to live and a time to die. And I was like, what are you talking about? I said, this is my baby. It's not his time to die. And I was like, you're taking me down there. And they're like, we can't take you down there. You're too sick. You shouldn't even be on a regular floor. I was like, I need to hold my baby if he's gonna die. Now I'm gonna cry because that was one of the hardest times of my life. And I was like, I need to see, like, he can't die and I never even meet him. Like, that's horrible. You know what I mean? And so I was like, you're taking me down. And they did. And he made it through the night. And the next day they took me down again. And the doctor came in and she said, look, we don't know that he's gonna make it. She's like, he was 3 days old. She's like, I don't know that he's gonna make it. And if he does, he will probably never function normally. And, after like a week, they let me hold him. You know what I mean? He started, like, we took it. It was the hardest thing ever. There was times, I was hoping we would make it 10 minutes without a phone call. Because they were coming in nonstop. He had multiple heart defects. His intestines burst. He had to have abdominal surgery. His lungs, they said his lungs were so bad they should be in a textbook. His left side was a complete pneumothorax, and they had emphysema. He had all this stuff because I never got the full course of steroids because they had to have him so fast. He had me on the little ventilator that makes him shake, the oscillating ventilator. You couldn't, because the regular one is what tore his lungs open. And like and then they came in and they said, he's had a brain bleed. And if it's grade 3 or 4, we're gonna have to talk about discontinuation of care. So, it's like it just didn't end. I was like, okay. And he came in at a 2. And so we didn't have to discuss it. So it's like, thank God, every time. And then all of a sudden, like, probably maybe 6 weeks old, 5, 6 weeks old, he started getting better. Like, and he just got better and better. Like, they literally called him the miracle baby. I mean, you look at him now, there's no way he's not functioning normally. He has like his scars from his birth history, and I had to deal with that. I had a lot of guilt because I felt like what was my body that failed him. And so I felt a lot of guilt towards that. And every time something happens or he struggles, I kind of feel that. But I know I have to let that go because he also wouldn't be here. So, and I can't imagine the world not having him. I was like in college and when I was single and during, my 20s and, I had to have, when I went through my open heart surgery and stuff, I wasn't scared of dying. And I can't say that I'm scared now, like I'm not scared of what happens, even though I know it's not fun, but I'm petrified of leaving them. And it's made a lot of things harder in a lot of ways, but it's also made me fight harder, I think, than I probably ever would have. He almost lost his wife and his son, but it took years for him to even talk about it. He just did it, you know what I mean? I don't know how, because it was devastating for me. Like, I'm in a fog. I can't remember some of the days through that because I was so scared. Like, I never once worried about myself. I was like, I don't care, you know what I mean? But I know he worried about both of us. There's guilt there because I'm like, he could have an easier life if he wasn't with me. I mean, he met me 4 months after open heart surgery, so he kind of knew what he was getting into at 24, and most 24-year-olds haven't just had their chest cracked open. But that amazes me. I mean, I don't know that I would walk into a relationship like that. I think I had a good example of what love was from my parents. I can't say that they were overly openly affectionate with each other, but my mom definitely taught me, the love of a parent, and the more and more I know that now as, Avery, we just found out some health stuff about Avery, and it was really freaking me out because he was the same age I was when I was diagnosed. And one of the diagnoses that he might have had was MS. And the thought of him having a degenerative illness at this age was like, and then I would think about my mom and what it was like to sit in the hospital with your kid, who, you know what I mean? And, and then to wipe out all your financial, well, we've done that too, financial resources, and you know what I mean? Like to sit at, and I said, we were talking about it on Thursday about how, I would cry and say, don't make me do this, don't make me do that. And she had to go and make me do painful things. I said, we had to go through that a lot with Alden, but he was nonverbal. And so he couldn't tell me, because it's devastating for a parent. Don't let them hurt me, you know what I mean? And having to. And so that was a good example. And then their marriage, the fact that their marriage persevered, because those kind of things tear a lot of people apart. The divorce rates for a death or illness of a child are really high. So the fact that they were able to do that and showed value in that relationship, and that you don't just because it gets hard, you know what I mean, like move on. Because, things get hard. Relationships and marriages take work. And they always let me know that, not in a bad way, like, oh, this is a lot of work, but don't expect it just to happen. It's not the fairy tale, you know what I mean? You have to put the time and the effort into it. I have 2 sisters. My relationship with both of them is different. With one, it's more maternal, and the other, it's more like your best friend kind of thing, you know what I mean? But there's still that, we protect each other. Well, your best friend, yeah. It's kind of weird that your little sisters stand up for you. You know what I mean? And hear a story, I know a story about Amanda that one time she punched somebody because he was teasing me. I wasn't present, but he was joking, pretending to be me, and be like, I have a tube coming out of my chest, and blah, blah. And she just hauled off and socked him. But it felt like such a bond. The fact that we could all look out for each other, and it taught me that. And when things get hard with one of them, and a relationship is hard, I still know that's what you do. You know what I mean? You may fight, you may not like each other very much at the moment, but you still are there. And that's something I've tried to teach the boys, and they have it. They're very close. And that's why I felt very strongly about having 2 kids, because I didn't want Avery to grow up alone. And I knew I would have health problems in my life, and Alden's the only person who knows exactly what Avery knows, who's gone through exactly what he's gone through. So I wouldn't, you know what I mean? I always felt it important to have a sibling. My friend Lisa, she called me. She goes, Steve was just diagnosed with leukemia. I was talking with her, and they're in this state of devastation. And I said to her, you're going to think I'm crazy right now. And I said, but you will see good things come out of this. And she was like, you're right, I think you're crazy. And then now with time, it's funny because she's done spousal support groups and kind of helped others. And she goes, my best friend came in and told me at the beginning that I was going to think she was crazy, and I did, but that good things were going to come out of it. She goes, and they have. I think you see a lot of good in people, you know what I mean? You see the love people can give and help and be there for you. You were there for me in the hospital, very few. That was scary for everybody, you know what I mean? And so, to have, and there was never a lot of people who could do it. And I understand, and I've never been, angry about that. Even through my life, even now, it's hard for people. I get that. But those people who can, that's love. You know what I'm saying? To be there and do that. People, just trying to help and helping the family, and, not taking every day for granted, and seeing, your accomplishments in a different way. This is a gift. That life is a gift. Lately, I've been asked a lot to talk to kids about childhood cancer and cancer a lot, and it's really helped me kind of cope with my inability to work and my new health stuff and everything, to turn it around and feel that it's helping somebody else. That's what is a big coping part for me, that it's not for nothing, that these struggles aren't for nothing, that somebody else is going to benefit from them, whether it be through research and medically, or it's that they see somebody else who's struggling like them, or it's just educating a whole bunch of people, so then when somebody does get diagnosed, this person's like, oh, I remember so-and-so said something. But I feel like that's something good that's come out of it. You know what I mean? To help somebody else in a way that I wouldn't have been able to before. was amazing to meet other kids who got it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really, there's something about having cancer that, you know, no matter what, you know, and how close somebody is to you and how it's not the same, you can't really get it. But when you experience somebody who's walked in your shoes, it's like, I don't know, it's completely different. And I remember, you know, coming home, people were like, oh, so you talked about your illness? I said, no, we didn't talk about it at all. It was understood. If something came up like, oh, whatever, it was just like, you know, you and I talking about the weather, you know what I mean? And that's what it normalized us. And I think at the age I was, you know, going 6th grade and going into middle school, being different was so hard, you know, and at a time I think when we want to be different in our own way that we choose, but you kind of want to be the same as everybody else. And all I wanted was to be like everybody else, to be able to, you know, go to school, play basketball, and, you know, do those things. And I couldn't. To go to an environment where that didn't matter, that everyone else was the same, was huge. And to grow up with them. I mean, I really grew up because I went all the way through, I think sophomore year of college was the last time I volunteered that summer, and that was the last time. But so I grew up with them, and those are friends. It's hard now. They were lifelong friends in most of their lives. I've lost most of them, which is hard. The few of us that are left, it's strange, and we've talked about it more, you know, recently. And I I'm admin for a cancer survivors group on Facebook, and we have like almost 600 members. And so like so many have that story, you know, who've grown up, the older ones, the younger ones, because we have teens in there too. It's a little bit different, but where you lose, you know, that survivor guilt and losing the person close to you. So it's, you know, those are the hard parts now, but those relationships, like I had a friend who, you know, even through college she was always there, you know what I mean? Even if we didn't talk all the time, like if something was wrong, like we knew when something was wrong. You know, we'd call up and be like, what's the matter? And like, it's just weird, those kind of things, like you're having something going on. Well, for us, I mean, she's part of our family. To be kind to one another. I love you, Darnley. I love you, Avery and Alden, and Daisy, of course. I love Mommy and Daddy, because I still call my Mommy and Daddy, Amanda and Marissa, and Lisa. I love you. I mean, I don't think I could stop listing, you know what I mean? I love all my friends. I'll start getting general. The people who've been there for me during hard times and the people who've tried their best to be there for me. I love I love Sean and Bella and Tyler like they're my own children. Goodness, it's like overwhelming. You know, I love my family, and I love the family that I don't get to see very often, and my cousins who are losing their mom, who I was never close to, but my heart is breaking for them every day. I love Emmy, and I hope she's okay. And I love Dee's family, and for accepting me in a situation that sometimes some families have a hard time with, for being an interracial couple. And we have never, I love both of our families for never thinking twice about it. And his mom for loving me like a daughter, and his brother as he's grown up, and he just thinks of me as his sister, nothing else, because he was 13 when I first met him, and looks to me for advice. I love a lot of people.
I hope you have a wonderful day and spread the love.